Hello, from its Comfort Beach and Beach. We're going to make a continuation from the previous episode. In the last episode, we talked about the PHP arrays where we familiarized ourselves briefly about the arrays. So now, in this episode, you're going to learn about the PHP functions. So in episode 3, we introduced ourselves to PHP functions, of which we had to play around with the functions at the basic level. Now let's get to understand what a function really is. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new file which I'm going to name episode episode 4, sorry, episode 5 episode 5 um functions, and then never forget the extension, the PHP. Okay, before we could start doing some magic here, let's get to understand what a function is. So, a function is a collection of statements or a collection of codes that achieve a specific purpose. So, each and every function that you create in PHP or in programming must have a specific purpose of it. Like in the reward example, we can have a function which deals with ensuring that the user is authenticated. It gets the password, the first name. Sorry, it gets the email and the password, and then it validates from what's already existing in the database, and then it compares. So that is also a function. So it has a specific purpose of making the validation, and then when the validations are accurate, it gives access or it grants access to that user. Or we can have a function that registers a user into the database. Let's say we have this Facebook database here, and then you fill in with your first name, last name, phone number, and the other credentials, and then the function has to check if the entered email the entered email or phone number are existing into the database. It has to compare. If they do exist, it prompts with an error to say these details already exist in the database and must be unique for each user. So that function performs a specific purpose of entering the user into the Facebook database. But before it does that, it has to make sure that it checks the credentials. Is the email and the phone number existing into the database? If they don't exist, it goes to the next step within the same function, which does the validation of the password to say, okay, is this password strong? Is it 8 characters? I don't know the maximum, the minimum password length of Facebook. Let's say if it checks if the characters are there 8 characters? Yes. Are there capital the capital letters or the yep. Are there small letters? Are there a combination of special characters? Yes, and then it gives and then it registers that user into the database, and even calls the authentication function, which authenticates users now into Facebook. Okay, so now upon saying of that, or upon introducing ourselves into what a function is, so like I said, the function is a group of statements that do perform a specific uh, task. So what you have to know is that a function must have a purpose. You can't just create a function without a purpose or a goal to achieve. You hear me? Yeah. So let's get started. So there are two types of functions in programming. The first one is the built-in function, and the other one is the programmer defined function. So built-in functions are those functions that already exist in in the programming language. So let's take it for instance. We have this function which we're using array. Array array is the function here, and print. Hello. So print is an already built-in function, which means it already exists. It already exists in PHP. You don't have to create it. You can just call it whenever you want to throughout your code. You don't have to create it to call it. Yeah, so these are the built-in functions. The built-in functions are those that already exist. So PHP has over 1,000 built-in functions. Yeah, so there are a number of them to like memorize or to know. But in most of the cases, you just have to pick up the functions that you think are necessary when you're performing a specific task. Like when it's time to use the date functions and you don't know them, you just have to check through the documentation, and then you see, okay, I want this function which does this and that. Even now you can ask from Stack Overflow, any other forums, or on or from chat gpt, or any um, online, or from any online resources. So there are a number of them. Okay, so and they are programmer defined functions. The programmer defined functions are these or those functions that we create as the programmers. So so we are going to be dealing with the programmer defined functions. So the functions that you are going to create here are going to be programmer defined functions. Yeah, programmer defined functions. Okay, so for this scope, uh, I would like to let's create. We're going to play around with three functions. The first function is to calculate. It's going to uh, it's going to be calculating the balance of. It's going to be bringing a balance, a specific balance. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, it's going to be echoing the specific balance. Okay, so we're going to do more with the functions when we cover the conditional statements. So let's see. The formula of declaring a function goes like this. You say you use the keyword function, and then a function name, and then the parameters, and then code goes, or group of statements go here. So when we say a group of codes or a collection of codes that to perform a specific purpose, these are the codes that we write in between the curly braces here. So this is what we're talking about. We can add as much as we can. So we're going to start with the first function here, of which this function, just going to name it just going to name it mm, Zenge Zenge balance Zenge balance which is going to this echo. It's going to echo. It's going to echo Zenge's account balance is. Then we do the concatenation. We say no, we don't have to for now. Is we say 10,500 ZMW for Zambian kwacha. Yeah, Tzenge balance. So this function here, the specific purpose of it is to display the balance of this individual Tzenge. Okay, and then other function which displays the best learning institution for IT and engineering. So we're going to say uh, best institution, best institution to learn tech and engineering from. And then here we're just going to say function best institution. So we give it a name. let's do it together. We say function best institution, best institution, 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 and then the block of code there is going to say we say code. Okay, we're going to say echo Zambia University College of Technology, University College of Technology. Yeah, so if I try if I try to run these codes from my browser, we're going to see that okay, let me open the file. Let's do it together. PHP tools, and then episode 5 functions. We're going to see that nothing is going to be displayed here despite running out some codes here. So what you have to understand here is that functions are not like other codes that we write when we are programming. So a function only runs when it's called. So here, this is not the calling of a function. This is the declaration of the function, or the initialization of the function, to be precisely. So now, if we want to display what these functions have to offer, what do we do? We need we need we need to call them. So if I want to call, let's say if I want to call Tzenge's balance, Tzenge's balance function, Tzenge's balance function, I just have to write down this function straight. Say uh, Zenga balance like this, and then it's just like this. Or if I want, I can even put echo, but let me put echo, so it should display now. Okay, it seems like my XMP has stopped. Okay, so Zenga's account balance is 10,500. So yeah, so now we have displayed here using the echo Zenga balance. We have called the function. So take note of the name of the function. A function that a function that is this when we start. Okay, when we start with a small letter t, it's not going to work because these are not the same in programming. This one starts with a capital letter T, and what I'm calling here starts with a small letter t. So which makes them different. So if I try to check from the code, it's going to raise an error, of course. Don't know what's wrong here. Okay, so Tzenga's account balance. Okay, Tzenga's account balance. Okay. Okay, so now we have managed to call the first function here. If we want to call the other one, we could just use the same approach. Let me comment out call the other function. Call the other function. Okay, so echo the name of the function along, and then okay, so now let me concatenate them. We can use the same method as we've been doing it earlier to separate using the break. Okay, so Zambian, so when we say okay, let's say what is Tzenge's balance? What is the best tech and engineering? The best tech, the best tech institution in Zambia. So we add a point. Okay, okay. It seems like there's no spacing. There's no spacing. Okay, there's no spacing. There's no spacing. Let's give it out some spaces. Some spacing. Okay, so Zambia. What is the best institution in Zambia? It's the best institution. Yeah. So what is the best learning institution in Zambia? it brings us just saying as account balance. Okay, okay, so let me add this here. Okay, let me do this. Echo, echo. Okay, yes, it's a lot of work here. Yeah, okay. Then, okay, let's see. Let's refresh now. Tenga's account balance is what is the best tech institution in Zambia. It brings a Zambian University College of Technology. So now, you need to take note of this. When we are calling the functions, we don't put in the dollar. When you put in the dollar, it means we're dealing with the variables now. Now, when you're calling the function, we don't put in the dollar sign. Excuse. Instead, we just write down everything directly. Yeah. Okay. So these are just the simple PHP functions. Just a simple PHP function. So there's also another function that do take some what we call parameters. Now, what are parameters? The parameters are those variables that are accessed inside a certain function, function or specific function. Let's say a function, mm, comfort, comfort balance. Now, let's say comfort balance. We just want it to be custom. The good part of using the parameters is that we can adjust them whenever we call them in whichever way we want to. So if I want to, what I mean here is that if I want to like show comfort is balanced like three times, or like what you had today, what you have tomorrow, I'm just going to call this same comfort balance, but put in different values there, which are going to differ. They are not static. Everything is dynamic. So our code goes here. Okay, let's play. Let's play. So comfort balance. Let's say echo base. Okay, let's me put the parameter. This parameter, I'm going to name it balance. So this is what we mean when you say a function parameter. These, they are dynamic. These are determined where from where you call your function from. Okay, they're going to make sense as it goes on at the end of this episode. So today's comfort is balance is and then we and then we say we connect or concatenate, we say balance. So we are called, as we can see, this balance variable here, it's not assigned to anything. It's not assigned to any value. So we'll be assigning values where we'll be calling this function from. So that's the power of this parameter based function. So parameter based functions. So we can add as many parameters as we want. We can say, or maybe let's say, maybe instead of using comfort balance, let's say uh, unknown balance for anonymous. So we are not exactly of the name, or we're just going. Let's name it user balance. So we're going to say name. So we have the first parameter name separated by a comma, and then we have the second parameter balance. So we can add as many parameters as we want, but you just have to make sure that they are all separated by a comma. As many as we want, as many. So for now, we only want two. Okay, so here instead of using comfort is, we're just going to uh, to make some concatenations to say name, this name which I've passed in here, this one is okay. So let's try to refresh our page. Okay, it seems like my Apache stopped responding. Okay, so we can't see anything here because we have not called our function. We have not called any of our function. So if we want to, so now let's call user balance. So if we want to display the balance of a certain user, like let's say the balance of let's say Tzenge, or let's say the balance of Ephraim, let's say echo. So we're going to say echo, or if you want another way, we can just say balance. We're going to say Ephraim. Let's store the values in variables. Ephraim balance is equals to, we call this function user balance, and then we now, this is where we assign the values from. This is where we assign the values from. So we're going to give the first value here for name as Ephraim. And then second, we're going to state the balance. Let's say we're going to say 2000 ZMW, 2300 ZMW. Even if I, okay, so if I try to run this code, it will still not work. It will still not work. Okay. Okay. So, oh yeah, so it should work. Yeah. So now, if we want to, yeah, so Ephraim's balance is equals to assign a variable, it should run. So let me add the break each time we call a function, a break. Okay, we say Elijah balance, Elijah, Elijah balance, Elijah balance is equals to user balance. We pass in the name. This time we're dealing with Elijah, and then his balance. We're going to say f- 1.50. That's 1.50 as his balance, and then we say user balance. We're going to say user balance needs a balance. We're going to say needs and then we're going to say 0 0.0, or let's say negative 2, which means he has some credit. Yeah, so now we see that's the good part of using the parameter based functions. We are able to set the dynamic values. So if all of these were static, like these first variables, the first functions, if we had to find the balance for Ephraim, we'd have to rewrite the whole function and just change the name. But since we are using the parameter based functions, we don't have to make any function relating. We just have to deal with the values here. So now let me try to run the code. Okay. Okay, don't know what's wrong with my XAMPP. Stopped again. Come on, XAMPP. What's wrong? Okay, so now we have today's Ephraim balance is, okay, let's add some spacing so that it looks more appealing. Yeah, so today's Ephraim's balance is 2,300. You see, so the first parameter here was Ephraim. The second, the balance parameter was 2,300. The name parameter here we passed in Elijah. The balance we passed in 1.50. And lastly, the name parameter passed in is, and the balance negative 20.0. So that's the good part about the parameter based functions. They can be changed. So we're going to play around with the parameter based functions as the series keep on going on. And that's all I had for these tutorial sessions, and see you guys in the next episode. Cheers.